Hi guys, welcome back. Today we're talking about the body and how it is only ever doing something for your benefit. Your body is the only part of your being that is always here for you. You can emotionally dissociate, you can spiritually go somewhere else, but the body's still here. It's functioning for you and with you no matter what. So often we don't trust our bodies, or we have disdain for them, or maybe we don't like our bodies, or we get mad at them when we're sick. But we don't realize that it's literally never going to do anything against you. It's actually the only part of your being that's never abandoning you. So when we bypass ourselves or suppress, deny, reject aspects of ourselves because we had to because of socialization, guess what? Your body's still carrying you through. So we need to actually really start to trust our bodies and realize that there is an infinite amount of wisdom in our bodies. I'm going to give you an example of this. Most people, when they're in a traumatic situation and they get out of that traumatic situation, their body will try to process trauma by shaking. And so many of us think, oh shit, what's happening? This is bad. And we resist the shaking. When your body knows exactly what to do, you don't even have to mentally know what's happening at all. Your body will process trauma for you, whether you want to or not. Trauma is the main cause of bodily dissociation. If someone's abusing you and you don't have a way of coping with that, why would you want to be in your body if it's extremely painful? It makes sense why you would have dissociated. However, now that dissociation is causing more harm than benefit. It's really important to note that your physical body is following your consciousness. What I mean by that is, when we look at the brain structure of a serial killer, somebody with bipolar or schizophrenia, what's happening is, yes, they have a different brain structure, but it's not that the brain structure is what's causing them to have these symptoms. It's that the brain structure is an adaptation to their environment and their circumstances and to trauma. So your being is what's adapting to your thoughts and consciousness. It's not that your body and your brain are causing you to have these things. It's the other way around. If we don't listen to our bodies, and if we are not with our pain, then our physical bodies have no choice but to manifest that. Because this is a time-space reality designed for awareness, your body is almost like a last resort. So if we're not listening to our emotions, it's going to manifest in the body, and it's going to be pretty hard to ignore it. If you're somebody who's had cancer, or irritable bowel syndrome, or gout, or tonsillitis, or fucking anything, you know it's really hard to ignore your body. You basically have to stop and pay attention. So many of us have a love-hate, or sometimes just a hate relationship with our own bodies. And it's kind of sad because, like I said, it's basically the only part of you that's consistently showing up and doing the work, whether you're there or not. One of the most helpful techniques for becoming more connected with your body is treating it like it's a separate being, checking in with it. When you're eating something, does my body like this? How does my body respond? How does my body respond when I listen to this kind of music? What about when I'm around these kinds of people? What about when I'm in certain kinds of environment? Start to notice these little differences in stimuli and how your body reacts to that stimuli. The more sensitive that you become, the better relationship you're going to have. Some symptoms of being dissociated from the body include but are not limited to numbness, a feeling of floating above the body, obesity, malnutrition not caused by a lack of resources, body dysmorphia, addiction, spacing out, and not being able to recognize your emotions. Basically, any ailment that's had to force its way through because of a lack of attunement with your emotional body. So we have an emotional body, a physical body, a spiritual body, many other kinds of bodies. But if these bodies are not in communication with each other, then this is where problems arise. One of the biggest issues or bones to pick that I have with, let's just call it like a common cold, is that mainstream will tell you to take like a cough suppressant or something that will get rid of your symptoms, but it's actually those symptoms which are trying to get you better. Mucus, for example, is your body's way of trying to expel bacteria. Coughing is your body's way of trying to expel bacteria. If we stop the mechanisms or the symptoms that are actually trying to get you well, then you're actually prolonging the process. So we really need to start to see that everything that the body is doing is for you. It just might not be in the way that you would like. Also, notice how it is that you can expose multiple people to the same bacteria or the same sickness, and only some of those people get sick. That's because bacteria is not actually what's causing sickness. It's that your immune system is already compromised. Bacteria can only feed off of dead cells. So if you get sick, it isn't because the bacteria made you sick, it's because you as a host were already a perfect environment for that. And what happens when you get sick? It forces you to stop, usually. It forces you to rest. So sickness in a lot of ways, like the common cold, can be a way of the body basically forcing you to stop. Same with migraines. And what's really amazing is that because everything in this universe has a consciousness, your body has its own consciousness, each cell in your body has its own consciousness, each organ system has its own consciousness, you can communicate with that and find out what it's trying to tell you if you don't already know. When we look at the body this way, we're no longer making an enemy of it. So much of society is basically designed to make us an enemy to our own bodies. Body shaming, you're not skinny enough, or you're too skinny. And it makes us even more dissociated from our own bodies, as if individual trauma wasn't enough. Like, when was the last time that you noticed yourself breathing? When was the last time that you noticed what your muscles felt like? Do you pay attention when you're eating food? What does that food do to you? If we're sitting in front of the TV, for example, and we're eating, we might be dissociated from the act itself. When you take a shower, are you in the shower with your body, or are you somewhere else? It's okay that we do that, but we have to notice that over time, it basically lessens our sensitivity to the way that stimulus is affecting us. So, number one, trust your body and know that it is probably smarter than you are. If your body starts to shake because it's trying to release trauma, trust it and let it do that. It's been there. It's been doing what it's been doing, whether you're conscious or in your body or not. So, trust your body. Second of all, start to become more attuned to the ways that your body is communicating to you. Start to notice what sensations and ailments you have and how specific parts of the body might actually be related to specific types of thoughts or specific traumas. One of my favorite resources for this is Yvette Rose, her book Metaphysical Anatomy. I use that quite a bit. It's awesome. She basically has like thousands of different things. You can look up any physical ailment in there. But I really encourage you to do this yourself. It's basically much more empowering if you come to those conclusions yourself, if you build the relationship with your body enough to be able to read those signs and signals. So let's say you have IBS, or have struggled with that in the past, not so much anymore for myself. Use parts work to go into the part of you or the consciousness that is your digestive system. You let that energy take over your body, and then you find out, what is that internal world like? Why is this showing up? And like I said before, things are only showing up in the physical body if they're not being registered first at an emotional level. It's like a funneling down process. So you know that if you've manifested something in the body, it has to do with emotional suppression. Absolutely, no, like hands down, 100% of the time. And our bodies basically force us into choice points of awareness. Because, sorry, but you're not going to be able to get away from awareness. If that means you laying up in bed, sick, or injured, then that's what it takes. One of the methods that I like to use is actually talking to my body as if it's a separate being. I have a relationship with it because it has different needs, wants, wishes, and desires than I do. The I in this case is basically referring to any aspect in you that wants something different from the body. Your body has boundaries. The same way that your emotional self has boundaries, like you have boundaries as a person, right? So if your body's tired and you ignore the fact that you're tired and you keep pushing, you're bulldozing your body. And the same way that we create distrust within parts of our emotional selves, within internal fragments and aspects, when we bulldoze and suppress ourselves, the same thing is happening with our bodies, which creates a certain level of distrust, which makes sense why maybe when you get sick, you don't trust yourself, or you don't trust your body that it's actually doing everything that it can, so you take a bunch of suppressants to stop the symptomology, the very thing that's actually trying to get you well. When we violate the boundaries of the physical body, whether that's through someone else or ourselves, not only does it create distrust, but it creates fragmentation, more fragmentation than you already have. We violate the boundaries of our bodies all the time by pushing ourselves physically when we can't be pushed anymore. We know that maybe we shouldn't have that next drink, but we do it anyways. We eat the fried food even though our body doesn't really respond well to that. We stay up late when we know that we need sleep. We don't prioritize getting a massage or doing something that feels good for our physical body because we're so often up here. Our society really does value and put so much emphasis on the mental space that we lose this total connection with this vessel that's been carrying us through our whole lives. I have a body meditation on my YouTube channel, which is great for reconnecting with your body. Start to notice how different things are affecting you. And again, listen when your body is telling you something. Otherwise, it will just get bigger and bigger because the universe wants awareness. So even if you don't become aware, you will be forced into that at some point. Thank you guys for watching and for caring enough to invest in yourselves. And I'm glad that it's finally nice enough out to be doing this, even though this tends to be a loud-ass neighborhood and I had to pause multiple times for fucking trains and children and things like that. But I hope the scenery was enjoyable for you. Thanks, guys. Bye.